Hi everyone, welcome to the Kindred Sewls YouTube channel. Today we are going to go over the last steps of the Charlie Sling Bag sewing pattern. So we're going to start by assembling the front panel of our bag. I'm going to take my front lining piece and place it right side down. I'm using a pretty lightweight fabric, so I'm going to add a layer of foam next. This is by Annie's Soft and Stable Foam. You could also use canvas fabric or another interfacing. Usually I don't add this, but my exterior fabric is on the lighter weight side and I just want to add a little bit of structure. So next I'm going to take my front panel and place it right side down. So basically, your exterior and lining pieces are wrong sides together. You then want to clip it in place, making sure you match the notches. And then baste it in place. Okay, so I have my front panel all assembled, and I did the same thing to assemble my back panel. So now we are going to attach the gusset to the front panel. We're going to clip it with the exterior fabric, the exterior fabrics together, and we're going to start by lining the top and bottom notches. And then going to align the side seam of the gusset with the side notch. Then I'm going to clip it in place along the straight edges as much as I can here. I'm then going to clip into the seam allowance at the curved areas. Do the same thing at the top. Take it over and sew all around using a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and I find that a stiletto really helps you smooth the corners as you're going. So this is what it looks like after I attached the gusset to the front panel. See, there's my seam line. And I'm just going to turn it, see what it looks like. Doesn't look like I have any puckers. If you do find that you have a pucker that you can't live with, you can generally just take out the seam for like just a few inches and smooth it and sew it again. You don't have to take the whole thing apart. So now I'm going to repeat this process and attach the back of my bag. So now it's time to bind the raw edges. There are lots of methods for this. If you have a different way that you like better, by all means do whatever works for you. This is just the method that I like to use. So to start with, you're going to want to open up your bias tape, fold it over by about 1/2 inch, and align it with the raw edge of your bag on the gusset side. And you can start wherever you like. It doesn't really matter where you start. I usually use clips, but I like to use a pin just for this very beginning part because it's easier to put it under your foot and keep the fold intact. So now I'm going to clip it around my bag. You don't really have to. If you wanted to start sewing right now, you could just use your fingers and align it with the raw edge and go all the way around. But I like to just clip it every so often. Okay, so if you're clipping it all around, you want to just leave this end because when you sew, you're going to start here, and then once you get all the way around, you're going to overlap it by about 1 inch. So, a couple things I'd like to point out. One thing is that we're not really trying to hide this seam, the seam that joins your gusset to the bag. You're trying to sew right next to it. So one thing I've noticed, this is a store-bought bias tape, and I've noticed that when you unfold it, it tends to be a little narrower than homemade bias tape, at least for me. This is my homemade one. As you can see, I'm not sure if you can see that, but it ends up being just slightly wider. So when I'm using store-bought bias tape, I sew right in the crease. However, when I'm using my homemade one, I sew just a little bit to the right of it. So I'm going to take this over to my machine, and in this case, I'm going to sew right in the crease all the way around, and then I'm going to overlap it by about 1 inch, and then just cut off this excess. So next you're going to wrap the bias tape around the raw edge, and you want to make sure that this folded edge covers the seam from the previous step. If your seam allowance is really thick like mine was because of the foam, you can trim it down by about 1/8 of an inch. Then going to sew it with the gusset side up again, right along this edge, and that way you will catch the underside. Once you finish the other side, you can turn your bag right side out, and you are all finished.